Hi there guys, so today we're actually going to get stuck into the wall framing. We've insulated the trailer and capped it and it's now ready for walls. So to start with, I'm just going to show you what you're going to need to get started with wall framing. You're basically just going to need a bench of some sort or some trestles to rest your timber on. You can make these if you want, or you can buy them from Bunnings, they're very cheap. You're going to need a couple of clamps. These ones I got here are called quick grip clamps. Just the cheap brand, it's fine. The ones I've gone for, I think they're 600mm, which is good for cutting several pieces of timber at once. Makes it very easy. Two of those. Obviously you need a circular saw, but if you do have a compound miter saw or some sort of saw that you can put on the bench, that's probably even better. But this works fine for what we're doing here, because we're just doing straight cuts at this stage for wall frames. You need a square and a pencil, and obviously a tape measure as well. So these 5 pieces I've got laid out here are my main upright pieces for my walls, my full lengths. So this particular frame that I'm making, this is going to be the wall frame for the bathroom and the sleeping loft, because the sleeping loft is above the bathroom. So we need 5 long lengths. Now our walls, in this case for our tiny house, our overall wall height is 3 meters, and we're doing a double top plate, which is where you have 2 pieces of timber on top of each other at the top of the wall. The reason we're doing this is for added strength, because obviously your roof comes down and rests on your wall, and we didn't want to run one single piece. We didn't want to have just one single piece of timber like this with the wall coming in, the roof coming down and onto here. So we've opted to have 2 of these stacked on top of each other, just for the added strength factor. Not necessary, but a choice we've made nonetheless. So that means these lengths of timber here, we're going to mark at 28.95. Obviously this depends on your drawings and what size you're building to, but in our case that's the measurement. $28.95. We then use our square just to mark across. Now you may be wondering why I've actually clamped 5 pieces of timber together and I'm marking them all in one go. It's purely a time saving thing. So instead of cutting each length by itself, I've just clamped 5 together because they're all going to be the same length. And I'm just going to cut them all in one cut. Just saves a little bit of time. So when we're setting up our timber and we're going to cut, in this case, five lengths, or whether it's 2 or 5, it doesn't matter. However many lengths you're cutting in one go, you obviously need to make sure that all of one end is aligned, so that when you measure and you mark your line across, you're cutting them all at the same length. It's pretty important. So here, as you can see, this end is in line. All I've done is I've shuffled them around. I've given them a little knock with a hammer, just to line them up, and I've put a nice big clamp here all the way across and pulled them in tight to hold them. You just want to run your finger across and just make sure that you're all aligned. If you really want, just to make sure, you can grab your square and just run your square across, and that way by putting your square on the end of the timber you can see if there's any gaps, which tells you that it's out of alignment. But we've got this spot on here, so we know now that once we mark our line and we cut down there at our measured length, that they're all going to be the same length. Just a quick word about safety, guys. When we're doing stuff like this and we're cutting with very sharp power tools, it's very important that we take care. So make sure you get yourselves a pair of good safety glasses that are impact rated. It's no good using just plain sunglasses or prescription glasses because they're not impact rated, which means if something hits it, whether it's a piece of wood or metal or what, at high velocity, it's just going to smash them. Whereas these are designed to take impact, so they're not going to damage your eyes. So they're only cheap, just from Bunnings or Masters, and earplugs, a good pair of earplugs as well, because you don't want to lose your hearing, obviously. And I don't, but if you want to, you can wear a pair of gloves as well. That can help prevent splinters and other nasties hurting your hands. Okay, so now we're going to lay, we've already cut all our pieces here for this frame. So now we're going to measure our spacings with along the bottom plate here, and measure the spacings in between each stud, and then we're going to mark them on our bottom and top plates. So what I like to do in this instance is get the tape measure, and we want to measure from the end to the first member, and then write that measurement down on a piece of paper, so we can take a bit of paper over to the job and we can quite easily mark it out that way. So from the end of this frame to the first member we've got 400mm, so we write down 400. To the second member, 871. To the third one, we have 1,223. $1,571. $1,804. $2,040. And our last one, our very end over here on the right, is 2295. Okay, so let's take it over the job and let's mark it out on the job. Okay, so now we've got our measurements, which we've just worked out using the measuring tool on Google SketchUp. So now we're going to use these measurements, which I've written down, and we're just going to transfer them onto the top and bottom plate. So the top plate and the bottom plate are essentially the very top of your wall, the timber that runs across the top, and the bottom plate is the piece of timber which runs along the very bottom. And by marking our marks on these, it means when we lay them out on the floor, it's very easy to line up all the other studs, because we'll have the little marks with the dashes, and we can just line it all up, and then we know where we need to screw them in. And that way there's no room for error, your windows will be in the right spot, and everything's going to run nice and true. So first things first, you want to line up the end of both your timbers like we did before with the cutting. So they're nicely lined up there. Now we know from our drawing on the end of this wall, which is the very end of the trailer, it's the front of the trailer, we've put a double end studs. We've put two together back to back, purely for strength, and also when the wall that runs the other way at 90 degrees to this wall, it's then got something to butt into and to screw to. So we have two marks to put here for that first bit. We're using 90 by 35 timber, so you're going to put a mark at 35 and then a mark at 70, and that's your two pieces of timber back to back. These timbers are a little bit warped as well, which you will find, it's quite common. So we're just going to clamp these together to hold them in place. So we're just going to mark these so we know which plate is which. So this is going to be bottom, this is going to be the top, and we're going to start down the end here where we measured on the computer. We're going to do the same again. So we've got 35 and 70, that's our two end pieces. We then come in 400. And when you mark, it helps to put your little mark. I use a little triangle, so I know that the point of the triangle is the measurement. And then I use a cross to tell me what side of that mark the timber is going to go. So in this case, with all of mine, the timber is going to the right hand side of the mark. By putting the mark and the cross, you then know exactly where everything's going to sit, and I do that with everything. And then it's all very easy to interpret. There's no questions about where things go. Next mark is 871. Next mark is 1223. And we continue that through all the way. And then once we've got all of our marks, we then need to remove the tape measure, get it out of the way. And then we use our square, making sure that both pieces of timber are butted up nice and hard, there's no gaps. And then we use our square to transfer the mark all the way across. And then we put a cross on the top plate as well, so that we know where the timber's going. Same with the next one. Line it up with our mark, and we draw a line all the way across there, and we do that all the way through, and then we're ready to lay out our wall. Okay, so timber's all marked. We've marked our bottom plates, our top plates, all the other pieces, all the studs are all cut. So now we're going to lay it out on the floor. So first you want to clear the area, and we'll start laying it out. Okay, so we've cut all our timber, we've marked our bottom and top plates, we've now laid everything out in position. At this stage before we go hell for leather and start screwing things together or nailing things together, it's good to grab your tape measure, refer to your drawing and just do one last check. It's always good to double check your measurements. The worst thing you could do is screw the whole thing together and then realise it's the wrong size or you put something in the wrong spot. So we've done that, and now we're going to move on to screwing it together. So now you may be asking at this point, why are we screwing it together and not nailing it together? It's a very good question. Usually with house framing, you'll nail all the frames together using a nail gun. In this case here, because of it being a tiny house and on a trailer and the extra vibration and movement, we've opted to use screws over nails. So we're using nice big, it's really overkill, but we just want it to last a long time and to not have headaches. So we're using 10G by 75 wood screws, which are humongous, but at least that way we can have peace of mind in knowing that it's been done the best way possible. The only problem with nails is they can, over time and with movement, with stresses, it can pull apart, and we definitely don't want that. So yeah, we're going to go for screws. It takes more time, but I think the time's well worth it. So first things first, we're going to start at one end and we're going to line up our first upright. Now, I should probably show you for this one here the few things you're going to need. It's very similar to the other jobs we've already done, but it's handy to have a drill. Doesn't matter whether it's a cord drill or cordless, but with our drill bit for a pilot hole. If you don't drill a pilot hole, you'll just end up with a heap of split ends on your pine, which is what we definitely don't want that. So we're drilling a pilot hole with a 5mm bit, and then we're going to screw in our screws just using a cordless drill driver with the Phillips head bit in it. You obviously need your screws, box of screws. A hammer can come in handy just to tap things around. Tape measure to check and double check. And a clamp can come in handy just to clamp things together. And if things are, sometimes the pine can be twisted. So you can get your clamp on there and you can use it to lever it one way or another just to get it sitting nice and square. And that's about it. If you do have an uneven garage floor, I do recommend you getting yourself some packers, some builders packers. I'll show you what they look like. These are the ones we've grabbed. They're window packers, just from Bunnings. There is a whole range of different thicknesses in there. So there's 10mm, it tells you on the label here, but there's a whole range of different thicknesses. 10mm all the way down to very thin ones. I think they're 1.6 or something. I've been using, because of our 4, I've been using a 10mm, and whenever there's a bit of a gap underneath, I've just been sliding it under there, and then when you slide it all the way through and you sit both of them on there, you get a nice flush finish, which helps. Now you can probably see here that this end stud here has got quite a large bow in it. Now we're not too worried about that because this wall is actually screwing to another wall, an existing wall. So once we screw this in, that will pull it nice and straight. It's going to take the bow out of it. So that's the top plate done. We've screwed all our studs in. Now we're going to move down to the bottom and do the same thing. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We really appreciate it. I hope you got something from it. I hope it was helpful. If it was, then please let us know. Post a comment down below and let us know what you thought. If there's something you'd like us to cover in another video, in our next videos, then also let us know and we can put something together. And subscribe to our channel. By subscribing to our channel, you're helping us to reach more Australians who are struggling like you may be, and it just makes everyone's life a whole lot easier. So thanks again, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.